Test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Test 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
All right, everybody, come on in and get seated. Bless you. Right, let's go ahead and get started. I think the last people are wandering in from outside, so thank you all for staying. Look around, a good crowd. Thank you so much. Um, so, for those of you who may be at your first pastor chat, let me give you a sense of uh, this as something that's been ongoing. When I came here as the pastor in 2019, I decided that I would try this once a quarter to have a pastor chat because it became clear to me that it's really difficult for us to talk about all the things that are going on in the life of the church in a way that you could feel informed, because most of that's not appropriate to do in worship. And then we have one congregational meeting a year. So unless you want to be here all day while we talk about all these things at one time, this seemed like a better idea. And I appreciate that you all have continued to engage it now for more than 7 years, and that you show up for these. It means a lot to me. And I think it strengthens the congregational system, because the congregation is in the know and you get a chance to talk back. As long as you do that nicely, you get to talk back. And so I certainly will invite you to do that today as well. So we have some things, information that we want to share. Here are the things we're going to go over today. Before I go over those, we are not going to talk about our budget today, but let me tell you, first of all, things are going great with the budget. I think we can feel really good about this year's position for us financially. And then at the August Pastor Chat, I will talk about the budget, because we'll have a whole half year under our belt. Okay, so just know that, but I think you can feel really good about our financial position. So today we're going to talk about the Mangrove School. We're going to talk about hospitality here at Church of the Trinity, a little bit about the land sale and an update there, the Food for Our Neighbor program, and vision groups. I've already said a lot about that, so that'll be short. You had to listen to that already this morning, so that will be quick. Before we start, let's say a word of prayer. Holy One, you have called this church to do big things. And so we work together, we pray, we contemplate, and then we prepare ourselves to step into the plans that you have for us. And so, God, I thank you for those gathered here, for all of those who are part of this church, who are here on the campus and here on Sunday, but also for all of those who participate in our church in some way all over this city, and also those who are online who may not even live here. And so, God, you have blessed us greatly, and we now tell you and commit to you that we will do big things because you have blessed us so much. May all this be so. Amen. Okay, so I'm going to ask, as we start with the Mangrove School, ask Reverend Collis to come give you an update about that.
Well, we have finished our first uber successful year with the Mangrove School, and we're very excited about that. It has been a really easy adjustment for us to get them in and be able to accommodate their needs and all of that. And so one of the things they came to us with pretty early on in the process, or just after the new year, was we want to do a longer lease with you all because they don't want to have to leave. And we said, okay, we'd like to keep you. And so what we have done is we're in the process right now of final negotiations for a lease that will be a 5-year lease that will be signed. And we have some increments that we're going to do. There'll be a flat rate increase for the first 2 years. And then after that, there'll be a flat rate increase plus an additional enrollment amount. So let me play that out for you. So on year 3, our baseline is 60 participants that are enrolled. Once a year, we take that enrollment statistic, which is in the first part of their year, they have their signups. That number guides us. If they are up to a certain cap, we add a certain amount of money. If they are beyond that, we add an additional amount of money, so it's cumulative. So all in all, based on their enrollment, if they go up, right now they're at 60, so if they go up to, let's say, 90, then that equals for us an additional $500 a month based on their student enrollment. We worked really hard to try to find out something that would work for all of us. We want to be respectful of their need and want to grow. And we also know that the more students they have, the more we will need to have to deal with things like cleaning, with, all different types of things that we need. And so they were very amenable to that. And so we are in the process of our final review of the lease with all of the things. And hopefully that'll be signed within the next 4 weeks, okay? So before July 1st is our goal to have that done, and it will start. So we're very grateful for that and for that opportunity They are looking to grow, and we are looking to engage more with them through some shared projects. So one of the things we're working on right now is planning a community garden in which the school and our congregation will work together. And so right now they're looking at how they can incorporate, because for them this is curriculum incorporation, right? And so how do they incorporate into their curriculum building a community garden, planning it, what does it look like, how do we decide? Like it's a huge educational piece, and then we come alongside and work that with them. So I want to let you know that is happening, so we're looking forward to that hopefully next year. And then we're also looking at additional ways in which we can engage as a congregation with them. Certain events that they have that might be all of us working together, or maybe we need to do some new events where we can all work together and commingle with them. They are, as you heard from Letitia this morning, they are very grateful for this space, and we see the emotion in their teachers' eyes regularly for the littlest thing, because where they were before was not a very cooperative environment. And so when we recognize them for teacher appreciation, JT, how many? Almost all of them cried.
All of them.
Literally. For a $40 gift that we got them, right? And so they're very grateful, and I want you to know that we are grateful for all that you are doing to make it possible as well. So does anybody have any questions on that? What, got two? One?
Wait for the
Angelina,
mic.
you've got a mic. Which number is it? 5. Okay.
All right, can you hear me? Okay. Is it going to be like a vegetable produce kind of garden, or is it going to be like a Florida native plant kind of garden?
It'll be a vegetable and fruit.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
great.
we're excited about that. If you will pass that to Michael.
Thank you. The location of the garden, where is it going to be, the proximity of it?
Right now, our plan is to have it over here on this side of the property. We have the AIDS Memorial that's going in the back corner, and right now we're still going to do just a double check feasibility-wise, but it looks like the best location, which is from the cell tower side back about halfway down this side over here. So it'll be a large garden.
Okay.
Did you have a question? Oh, I saw a hand. No. Okay, yes. Wait for a microphone. We have people who are online with us, so we want to make sure they can hear
okay.
us. Yeah.
With regard to putting the garden area over in there, will that not impact Sunday morning parking?
It can, yes. It might. Yes.
Because I know a lot of cars park over there Sunday mornings.
Yes. And we have a lot of parking that does not get used currently. So I think we'll just have to look at that from a feasibility standpoint around what works and what doesn't around parking.
Thank you, sir. You had mentioned that if their enrollment enlarges, they will be charged more. What happens if the enrollment then goes back down?
We have a baseline number that will never go below. And so our baseline rent is called out every year with a 5% increase year over year. If they have 40 students or they have 60 students, that rent does not change. So we don't have a bottom out. We stay straight across. All right, thank y'all so much for all that you do to make Mangrove possible.
Please join me in thanking Reverend Collis for shepherding this whole partnership. It has really been her initiative around it from the very beginning, and her ongoing relationship in leading us through that. So thank you so much for that. You've done an amazing job with it. I didn't say this, and I should have. The microphone needs to be in front of you if you have something to say, so that our online viewers can be a part of the conversation. And also want to thank our young adults for being the runners today, except for Letitia. But all right. Okay, we're going to move on to hospitality. So one of the things that seems to have happened here for some reason is that we call our having refreshments out in the courtyard hospitality, as if that's the only thing around here that's a part of hospitality. So we've been trying to do a little bit of work about breaking out all the pieces and parts of hospitality because it seems important to do that so that we appropriately kind of name some of these things. So these are the 4 categories that we sort of like to introduce you to. We have our Sunday welcome, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We have our first-time guest process that we do. We have messaging in every way that we work on all the time. And then the Sunday meet and greet. That's what I would call us out in the courtyard having food and visiting with each other. It is not the whole of our hospitality efforts. So I want to break those down for you quickly. Our Sunday welcome. Now look what all that includes. We are always having to think about these things. So our ushers are always at the door, opening the door for people to come in. We have Debbie, who's always at the welcome table. Yeah. And you know, Debbie's been doing this since July 4th, 2021. It was the Sunday we came back from the pandemic into the building, and we had a lot of, she's going, wow, I didn't know it was that long. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. But we had the protocols we had to do in order for people to be safe. And, you know, we used to pass pads around for people to sign in, and so passing things was not in the makeup at that point in time. And so Debbie was on the board at the time, and she said, look, I'll do that. I'll have a list of all of our members' friends, all the people in our list, and I will greet them, and I will check them off when they come in the door. At the point we didn't really need to do that anymore, Debbie said, you know, I kind of like this. I know everybody's name. You know, I enjoy seeing everyone. And so she has continued to do that. So we are in 2026, so 5 years. She's been sitting out there welcoming people. And I believe she has missed only a handful of Sundays, one handful of Sundays in those 5 years. So, Debbie, thank you so much for that. So, having someone there who's there to greet when people come in and call you by name, I think makes a huge difference in terms of how people feel. Having our ushers greet, and also having our ushers make sure that people can find a seat. This is a very important thing, too. Also, the pastors, we try very hard to get over here on Sunday morning at least 10 to 15 minutes ahead of the worship service start so that we can wander around and talk to everybody. It's great that Debbie says we've got 2 new people here today. Their names are this, their names are that, and we start going to try to find them ourselves. So it makes a big difference, at least in people's feedback to us. It makes a difference that we make that effort. During our announcements, you know, we always welcome our first-time guests. We welcome everybody in the room. We welcome people online, which we should do right now for people who are watching the Pastor Chat online. We have our Welcome Center, which is where JT is after the service to talk to any of our first-time guests. And then I always, if I'm preaching or whoever the preacher is, we always stand in the back and greet everyone who comes through the doors. So a lot that we try to do on Sunday to make sure that people feel welcome. All right, then we have our messaging. I don't know if you think about this, but once people drive onto the campus, it's very helpful that there's some signs out there because it seems like you should enter the building there, and yet you got to come all the way around. So signage is very helpful, and it is part of a message of welcome. If people have too much trouble finding their way into the building, they won't come back. They might even leave before they ever get in. So a very important piece. Expansive language. This is part of our messaging while people are here in the room and beyond, but we're just talking about that right now. So whether that's using inclusive language in the way we talk about God, whether that's inclusive language in the way that we welcome people from different traditions of faith, whether it's that we welcome people who are all over the place in terms of where they come from, that we're always thinking about that and not taking it for granted. It is so easy to leave people out with our language. And so paying attention to it and trying to be more and more expansive, right? And our reason for that is, by the way, if we believe God is an expansive God, then we need to try to be as expansive as we can manage with all of our human limitations, right? And then we have expansive communion. People often tell us that this is one of the most important things to them in our worship service is the level of welcome for people to come to communion. We serve people who are Jewish, Muslim, agnostic, atheist, Christians of all sorts and descriptions. And so the table is truly open here. And that is certainly part of our hospitality, is to say that Jesus' table welcomes you. And then there is the issue of us trying to continue to learn that, I want to go back to the Sunday welcome. All of you are also very welcoming. I feel like what I've watched over the course of the last 3 years in particular is that you have become more friendly to all people when they're coming in, that you're getting out of your own group of people that you know and that you're finding people to speak to and that you're welcoming people. So thank you for that. I see much improvement in that regard. And then there's this always making room part. This challenges most churches, and we're not unique in that way. It's always a growing edge to say that we have to get out of our comfortable places sometimes, so we make room for other people to also be comfortable. This is part of liberation. I don't get to be comfortable for myself now that I'm comfortable. I have to also make comfort available to other people. So I'm going to ask Reverend Collis again to come and talk about that a little bit because we've gotten some feedback that we need to discuss.
So if you happen to be an usher, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for ushering. While you may not know this, they're actually trained for this position. We train folks for this position, and we ask them to do some things that are not always comfortable. And most of that is not for our benefit, but for the benefit of someone new coming in, right? And so our ushers have been trained, and I'm going to do a live in-person example. JT, would you mind sitting in this first seat right here? And what our ushers have been trained to do is seat people, especially after the service starts. Because what we don't want is somebody walking around trying to figure out where they can sit, because no one's paying a bit of attention to anything up here, but they're watching me walk right? So our ushers are trained to walk them in, to offer them a place to sit, to wait until they're seated, butts down, then you can go. That's the rule, okay? That's what they're trained to do. So if we come in and it's a pretty crowded, this side's real crowded over here. Y'all got a lot of room. We're leaning this way. But if we have a first-time guest coming in the door, and I am an usher, and this happens to be the interchange, I'd like for you to see what you feel, okay? I want you to imagine I've got a person behind me. I'm going to call this person Jacqueline. Hey, JT, would you mind sliding over? I've got Jacqueline who's new here.
This is my seat.
Yeah. Okay, so don't even use words. Let's try it again, okay? Hey, JT, would you mind sliding over so that we can give our new person here? Yeah. So if anyone identified yourself in any of those moments, I'm talking to you, right? There's nothing worse being a new person and feeling such welcome at the door and then coming in here and feeling completely unwelcomed because we can't bother to slide one seat over. Or heck, get up and give them our seat, because if you were inviting someone to your home for dinner, right, would you make a seat at your table for them? Would it be a special seat of honor? I might even give up my favorite chair because it's a guest, right? If you would take the time to do that at home, this is your spiritual home. And so I'm going to say to you, we offer those same extensions here. Okay? So, as gently as possible, I have said, please be kind. If our ushers ask you to move, there's a really good reason. So please respect their volunteerism because they are volunteers, not getting paid to do this. And what we don't want to happen is your pushback and your attitude to help us not have volunteers. Is that about as clear as I can make it? Do we have it? Thank you so much.
Okay. Everybody clear? Everybody clear? Yeah. No eye rolls, no sighs. Yeah. All right. Okay. The next part of hospitality are our first-time guests. So a year ago, we actually put a new first-time guest process into place, and JT has headed up this effort. And so I'm going to have him come and give you some sense of the results that we're getting from this process.
So I really have to say thank you to Reverend Collis. When she was an intern, I believe, had preached about this, and I think that really has set off the last 3 years that Reverend Lily has been talking about, and thank you for the part that you play in it as well. Lily talked about knowing their names, so when Debbie checks them in and she says, we have someone by the name of Jorge here, he's new, I can go up and greet them and say, hi, are you Jorge? And to be known in a strange place makes all the difference. And so whenever you go up and introduce yourself, learn their name, repeat their name back to them, it's very helpful. And if you're seeing someone who's new and you see people around, introduce yourself, but also, oh, have you met Harry? Have you met Betty? Have you met these people? Just so they know who's around them. And it's hard to come to a new place. And whenever you are introduced to other people, you feel like you're joining a community. We also greet them after service. I'm at the welcome table. So I will say to you all, if it seems like I'm shooing you off, I am. And I'm not doing it because I don't want to talk to you. Believe me, I would stay and talk all day. But if I see a first-time guest person, I need to be able to have that really good time with them. So it's not personal. It's me wanting to make connection, learn how they heard about us, get some quick feedback about how they felt in the service. And so that greeting after service is really important. It's also when we give them a small gift, usually some candy, a wristband. There's a beautiful card about our hopes for them and how to stay engaged and in contact with us that they receive. And we also receive the blue contact card so we can do our follow-up. So a lot of the research and data shows that the churches that actually take time to follow up with the people who come for the first time see more retention in those folks coming back. So we have a follow-up process. So the week after they come to see us, they get an email from whoever preached. It's usually Reverend Lily, but if Collis and I preach, it'll be from us. The second week after they come, they get an automated text message just reminding them that the church is here, that the table is always open for them, because that's the feedback we get, that the open table is really impactful. And then they get a third email to learn about what's going on, so the programs that we have outside of worship. And so they get this automatically in a system, and so we have 3 points to follow up, and we found that those 3 points were what really helped people to stick. So that's all well and good. The stories are wonderful, but what do the numbers say? Oh, I had a question back here. Can I get through the numbers and then I'll come to you with a question? Yeah, great. So these numbers are from April of 2025 when we implemented the system to April of 2026. So through that time, we had a total of 77 first-time guests on our Sundays. So that is one first-time guest, 1.5 really, first-time guests each weekend of the year. That is incredible, and that shows us that something is happening here. There are lots of things going on in this church that are attractive, that people want to come and check us out. I'm finding that they are researching us. They're figuring out what we're about before they even come here. I mean, you might get a few who drive up, but they know what we're about, and they like what we're about, and they want to be part of it too. So I say that to say there's always a first-time guest. Treat everyone like they're a first-time guest, so treat them with respect and care and love and hospitality. Out of those 77 first-time guests, we've had 40 of them that have returned twice. So that's at least 3 visits to our church. And after they return a second time, they usually become a regular attendee. So that's more than half of our first-time guests in a year that have returned at least 2 times. That's incredible. It's that hospitality that we're talking about that makes all of that happen. And then we also see this affecting people wanting to become members, make a stronger commitment. We've got about 10 people out of this list last year who have become new members of our church through our first-time guest process, and that is fantastic. And then we have those who've returned 4+ times or now are just regularly attendees. That's 29%, 38. These numbers are outstanding. For a church of our size to have this kind of impact on all of these people, that I get emails or people tell me, I have just never felt so much love in a church, or all the hugging is just so wonderful. I feel like I'm part of a family. That was not the case when I came here about 5 years ago. We would have first-time guest process, and we didn't stick for the most part. But this past year, we've had more than half of them return twice. That is fantastic, so give yourself a round of applause. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all you do for first-time guest ministry. We have questions? You had one?
I don't have a question, I just have a quick story about meeting new guests. One week, 9 new people sat in front of me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of people. Are they family? So I, during Pass the Peace, greeted them, asked them all their names, and then after the service, I did it again. And now they're like a family, and I've got a little granddaughter. You know, so it's so important to go up to those new people and just say hi. Where are you from? What brought you here? It's so easy. Never was easy for me before, I have to admit that.
Yeah. Well, remember your freedom story, too. Yeah. Right? Whenever you tell your own freedom story and your own story, then they feel compelled to share with you, too. And they build community, and we draw a wider circle that way. It's beautiful. Thank you. Don.
When I first came to this church, I avoided everything up there. I avoided it like the plague. And the people in this church made me feel so welcome. I can name a few, like Ricky and you.
Oh, thank you.
And Reverend Lily came up to me one day and said, we don't have your information. I said, that's because I didn't give it. And the next week, that's when I said I wanted to join. Because every sermon that she gives does something to me.
Yeah.
And especially today. That's another story I could tell another time, because I love this church. I love the people in it. And I don't know, people know my name, and I keep having to ask their names. And that's a lot.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. Woo. We got Jim in the back.
I've just got a quick comment.
Yeah.
You need to ask people if they're huggers before you hug them.
Yes, thank you.
Shake their hand or just put your hand on their shoulder. It might be the best thing until you really get to know them anyway. Because a lot of people, when they come first time, they're not huggers, or they don't know you at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. Because affection is about consent. And we teach that to our children. We teach that to each other. So asking for permission.
I have one other thing to say.
Yeah.
I am a hugger, and that's another reason I love this church.
Yes. I saw another hand out here. Jackie, wait for the mic.
Believe it or not, I'm shy. I've been coming since Good Friday this year, and I just want to say I taught math in another lifetime, and so your statistics are better than it looks, because that little card that you're supposed to fill out the first time, I remember looking in that bag and going, oh no.
Yes, yes. Any other questions? Thank you all again.
He's the one minding all these pieces of the process all the time, so thank you for being dedicated to that this year. All right, now we have our Sunday meet and greet as part of our hospitality, which is the thing we call hospitality, but it's really our time of fellowship and meeting and greeting new people and each other. So it's not news to you, I think, that every time we get to the end of May, we have an issue because we have weather challenges in the courtyard. You know, all of the issues we have are for all the right reasons. We're just out of space. You know, we're just absolutely out of space. So when we have, I don't know how many square feet there are out there in that courtyard, but it's about as big as this sanctuary, that space out there. When we can no longer use it, it is a huge impact on us. In particular, for the meet and greet time after church, but in other ways too. So the weather challenges us all the way from the end of May till the end of October. And so in other times, we have erected a tent out here. And it used to cost us about $7,000 to $10,000 for that. And those were erected with those big barrels. That was for 6 months. Those big barrels is how they would put them. And the tent company was responsible if we had a hurricane come through, they had to come take it down, you know, so all those things. It's still a lot of money every year for us to have to do, but what's even worse is that now they require that you put them all the way in the ground. You can no longer use the barrels to hold it. And they cost about twice as much as they used to. So that $7,000 to $10,000 is more like $18,000 to $20,000 now, just to have a tent. So our space challenges are considerable when we get to this time of year. And I'm sorry to say there are no desirable solutions. Reverend Collis and I spent an entire day this last week, and we're a pretty creative trio. We can come up with all kinds of ways to work on something. Or, you know, my motto in life is you can always get your way if you have more than one way. So if you approach life like that, you can usually find a way. But we have really struggled to figure out what to do during these months when it's so hot. So, and there really just aren't a lot of desirable solutions right now. Now come to the vision groups, because we're going to figure out some longer-term solutions for sure. But right this minute and for this coming summer, it is really not an easy set of situations for us to try to contemplate and to somehow remain hospitable in our efforts right after church. So Reverend Collis is going to talk about where we landed and see if we can get your feedback.
So thinking of all the ways in which we could slice this, we could not come up with a solution that will work for us this summer. And so for right now, this beginning next Sunday and in through October, and that is typically weather dependent, right? But we know we have kept the tent into November even sometimes. But through October, we're going to suspend that part of what we call hospitality, the meet and greet. Now, while that is not ideal news, I want to challenge you. Just because there isn't food doesn't mean we can't find new and creative ways to connect with one another after worship. This is a pretty decent sized room. And we try to leave some open spaces for us to be able to connect. And so perhaps you get in a little huddle over here, or you come up here and talk to folks, but you still have the opportunity because we have availability. We just don't have what we need to fully function in that meet and greet. And you all know the temperatures here, and having anything, any kind of food items outside after we do it once is a danger in the heat, really. And so we hope that you will hold in your heart that we have worked as hard as we possibly can to come up with a solution and that there isn't one. What I will say is that during this time, we are committed to thinking about what that future is for us and how we continue this moving into the fall, and hope that you'll understand all of the reasons why. And they're all, as Reverend Lily said, all good reasons that we're running out of space for different things. So any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. I did want to share with you too that it typically costs us internally for what the church pays around $300 to $400 a month. And we have volunteers who I will say on average add probably equal, if not a little bit more to that. So we're looking at something that costs all in between $800 to $1,000 a month for us to keep going. And while money isn't always the issue, what we don't want to do is be poor stewards of the money that we have in trying to force a solution just to say we have something and us perhaps make somebody sick because the food's been out too long, or somebody has a heat stroke outside because it's too hot, it's pouring rain. I mean, all of those things. So we want you to understand we've been upside, downside, around, up, and we feel like this is the best option. We're going to take the money and we're going to give that money to Food for Our Neighbors that we would spend. Okay. Okay. So questions, comments? Got one here and one here. I didn't give you that warning, sorry.
Hi, I was just curious about those like beach tents that they have like at festivals and stuff.
Well, in order for us to do that, we did talk about having smaller tents to put up. We have to have people to put them up every week, to wait here until everyone's gone, to take them down, to put them back away where they need to be, to make sure they're anchored. They have to be inspected before we can let anybody go under them. So there's a little bit more to it than just hoping to have one of those tents up. We did think about that, Dawn. Thank you for bringing that up. Mary.
Just a note that maybe during the summer months, we could start recruiting more people to do hospitality instead of just the same 3 or 4 people who are doing it now.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things that we spoke about is that it's the volunteer staff that we need to keep this going. We lose several people who are snowbirds as well, which does have an impact. And we do need to build this volunteer group. So I'll just plant that seed in your heart. If any of you feel like you are fully capable of putting some things on a tray and being nice to people while they eat it, maybe hospitality meet and greet is for you. Amy.
Lord knows these chairs get moved around a lot in here, right? Everybody knows that. Please feel free to come back in and sit down in the cool area and move the chairs around into a circle or into areas and make it your own.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. I got all the bad news today, I just realized. I said, I've had the bad news afternoon. All right. Let's give a great thanks to all of our hospitality volunteers right now.
Yeah, part of the reason that people don't step up to do the meet and greet part on Sunday is because you have to come early and you have to stay late. And so that's certainly a contribution that our volunteers make in that way that we deeply appreciate because it makes a huge difference in how people feel. All right. All right, let's go on to the land sale. Just a reminder that we signed an extension, which was extension number 7, just a couple of months ago. Extensions mean that the closing date got extended. It got moved out further than the original one. So we've had 7 of those. And we were just asked for an 8th extension, which would go to the end of October. Now, there's some mitigating circumstances around this particular extension that I am not at liberty to talk about because of some of the legal things around it. We do have a real estate attorney, and we're working on this part. So the board, decided that we will not be signing this 8th extension. And but the good news, I know that sounds like, oh shoot, we're not going to sell this property, but I don't think that's the case. We have some other exciting possibilities that we are entertaining right now that I think are probably going to be even better. So all is not lost, even though it may sound like that. So what I need you to do right now is to pray for a good outcome. I can't think of a reason there won't be a really good outcome to this, and I wish I could tell you, but I can't. Because I pushed everybody, didn't I, Amy? I pushed everybody so that I might be able to announce something today to you about this, but it didn't work out like that. So whenever that announcement comes, I think that you'll be pleased. And so thank you for being patient around this. But as we go into our vision groups, I think, we're looking at having more means, more things, more money, more things that we can, and resources that we can use to find our way forward. So I think this is all very exciting. I'll take your questions. I just want to warn you, there may be very little I can say. So I'll need you to be patient. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions? Oh, I'm glad you got that out. Anybody have a question you want to ask? Okay. All right. Thanks. That was easy. Okay. And then food for our neighbors. Thought you might just want to be encouraged by the Food for Our Neighbors program. I mean, we talk about this every single week in worship, but maybe it doesn't sort of land on you all the way about how important this has been, especially since last August, we didn't even think it through. It's just that there was a need, and we said, okay. And we started collecting food, and we started collecting money to buy perishable items. So it was just, it's just crazy that what has happened around it, just a few things for you to know. We've delivered groceries to 387 families. 98% of those families are caring for kids. So literally giving food to children who otherwise might not have a good meal. So I hope you feel fabulous about this, especially something we just kind of went with because there was a need. We've collected $17,470 to buy perishable items. That's a lot of money in under a year that people all over this city have given, organizations have given. So it's just tremendous. We've had people that just show up here during the week. We had a couple people who drove all the way from Tampa who somehow heard about this, and they had a trunk full of food. Somebody told JT, I believe that their babysitter told them about this, and so they brought food. We've had the students at the dental college show up here several Sunday afternoons with big baskets of food that they collected at the dental school. Organizations all over the city, every time they meet, they ask people to bring food for our neighbors. So it's been a tremendous response. And so while we love these numbers, what I want you to mostly take in is that people care that immigrants can't eat because they're afraid of the government. They're afraid of ICE. So think about, in this very conservative city, think about all the people who've shown up and said, this is not right. So I think that's very important. Yeah. Also, big news is that we now have 2 food banks that are giving us food. So that means we get bigger amounts of food from 2 food banks. We weren't always sure that would ever be possible because usually they are grant funded and it requires that they know the names or something about the people that you're delivering to, which we were not going to do, not going to reveal the names of the people we give groceries to. So these two food banks are willing to do that and not have to know the names of the people who receive the service. So that's a tremendous thing. I want to thank Jana Lee, especially for making that happen. And also the Unitarian Church, who also does Food for Our Neighbor, because they got a Sarasota food bank to bring food, and so they just split it with us because we're in Manatee County, so they can't really deliver it to us. The food bank can't because we're in Manatee County, so the Unitarians just bring it over. So we get half of that particular part. And I also want to thank Wendy. Is Wendy here? So Bonnie, you can.
She's online.
Okay. Well, because every chance she gets to bring something from a food bank, she does, and she just loaded us up over the weekend with some things. So we appreciate how she's connected some of these food banks and really helps us. Generally, we got to have a microphone.
For the online people.
I just think, too, you said the UU brings the food over. They don't. But Marcy has committed, Marcy Jack has committed to every Monday morning going to pick up the food that's delivered there for us and bring it over. So that's a big commitment. I want to thank her.
We have another person. Hi, my question is, I know in the summer, at least in Manatee County, they have like a summer program where the kids eat up from like kindergarten up to the time they're 21 in the summertime. I don't know about Sarasota, and I'm wondering if Food for Our Neighbors like kind of works with that.
Yeah, I'll comment on that. No, they're not. We're not, and we're letting families know about it. But the problem is, then the families have to get the kids to the school to do it for lunches, which is, for a good percent of them, not realistic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So also, if you haven't noticed or haven't heard, we also purchased a 12-foot by 36-foot shed that is right behind the office building so that we could house all of the food that is coming in. We're still in the process of making a full transition, but it will be have full electricity, so we'll be able to have refrigerated things out there, and we can keep it temperature controlled. And we'll be able to get Pierce Hall back. So with all our space issues, this is one of those things where it feels like a chess game just about every week, having to get us into different places. So if you want to take a look at the shed on your way out, it's right behind the office building. Robin?
I'm wondering if we're taking any special collections for helping build that building out, because I'm sure that that's quite an expense to build that building out and be able to house the food, refrigeration, freezer.
Collis will speak to that.
So we have had some refrigerator and freezer space donated to us, so that piece is done. We're in the process right now of getting quotes for the electrical work that we need to do, as well as the quotes that we need to finish that work out. We were able to get a little bit more money than we thought we would need for the shed itself to supplement that. And once we get that, we will have more information on what we need to finish it out and what that looks like. So we're still in the data gathering mode. If any of you have tried to have any work done at your homes, you know, it's hard right now to get contractors and folks that we can get plugged into to be even available to do the type of work that we need, because it's a really small job in their world. It's giant to us, but very tiny for them. So we're working on that as we speak, and as soon as we know, we'll let you know.
All right. Okay, moving on to vision groups. So I think all of you know now, we need you to sign up for a group in June. The sign-up sheets are still out in the narthex if you haven't done it, or you can do it online. We really need your voice and your heart. And one thing I want to make sure I'm being clear with you about is that I should hope that you would want your staff and board to have been thinking about our future, because we are doing it every day, all day, day in, day out, and looking at all of the data and looking at all of the things. However, as I said this morning, this is your church. And so while we want to lay out some things that we're thinking about, we have not made any decisions about them. The board has had 2 retreats about this, and so they have been working hard, doing their own due diligence around this, and the staff has been doing this for a while, probably a year and a half, trying to think about what's ahead for us. So the next piece is for us to hear from you. And so these vision groups are a way that we'll do that. We'll have other follow-up sessions that will come after June. We'll tell you about those at the June meetings. So this won't be the first. It won't be the first and last. It's just the first time. So we'll have other opportunities for you to give us input. Okay. So please take this opportunity to give us your heart and your voice about our future. And then I just want to commend this Jeremiah passage to you that says God is dreaming dreams toward us. So I think that's an image I want you to have, that God is constantly giving dreams. The trouble is, most of the time, we're not paying any attention. And so I'm asking you, at least in June, to be a dream catcher, to be intentional about the dreams that God is throwing at us and the opportunities that are there, so that we can catch some of these dreams and walk into the future feeling really good about Church of the Trinity, MCC. All right? Okay, so I'm going to trust you to get that done. Okay, and one upcoming events that I want you to just be sure you have in your calendar. We are having the Interfaith Pride Service, which is next Sunday at 3 p.m. The Angie Nixon event. So Angie Nixon is a representative in the legislature, and she's running for the Senate. And she is a friend of our community, and we're looking forward to having her in our space. And you'll want to meet her. She is a dynamo. She just got arrested in DeSantis' office not long ago because she didn't like something he did, so she went and sat down in the floor at his office and demanded a meeting, and they got arrested. And then on the 17th was Juneteenth. We do this every year with Greater Hearst Chapel AME, and we'll do that again this year. And I'm hoping that we just have a bigger and bigger crowd. We had a packed house last year, so let's bring in some more chairs and pack it out this year. By the way, the thing that we're going to talk about is that Juneteenth means that in Texas, it took a long time after the Emancipation Proclamation for them to be able to even know that they could vote, black people could vote. And here we are in 2026 facing some of the same nonsense. So there is a thread to pull through. Come and be educated. Let's celebrate Juneteenth. And then on June 21st, Jules Rain from Equality Florida, our own Jules, is going to be here after worship to talk about the legislative impact from this year, to sort of tell you all of the different bills that were before the legislature and what happened with them. So this is really good information for us to have. All right, so before we dismiss, I want to check in to see, is there anything anybody wants to say within reason? Are there any questions with the things we've talked about? Anything burning you need to share?
One thing I forgot to share in my story about the 9 people in front of me is the next week they came back and one of them said to me, "We talked about you on our way home." And I'm like, "What did I do?" And they said, "Because you were the only one that introduced yourself to us."
I think she's saying the rest of us need to be sure we introduce ourselves. I think that was the message there. Anything else? Is this helpful information for you to have, for for you to kind of know some of the things going on. Robin?
More
Microphone.
I'm sorry. More times than not, when I'm asked to be an usher, people look at my tag like my name's going to be on there. I'm wondering if we can just maybe get some name tags so when somebody does usher, even if it's a paper one, we stick it on us so that people do know our names. And then when we introduce, we don't feel so. I'm not afraid to ask, even if someone's been here many times. If I can't remember your name, I just shout it out. Excuse me, what's your name? You know.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if we can do paper, stick on my shirt kind of name tag.
Yeah, we can talk about that. And I mean, I wish it was as simple as that, but we can talk about how we might figure it out. So, yeah.
Just one thing. I'd like for all of us to thank our staff leaders, but also the board for all the volunteer hours. Well, they get paid. Their volunteer hours that they put in to lead our congregation. So,
Yeah. Yeah, this board has been working really hard. I'm so grateful to them. And we're coming into a very busy season for our church and all that is ahead. So they're doing really great work. All right. Thank you all for being faithful to come and be here for worship and to participate in other things. Our worship attendance has taken a big increase in the last several months, this year, basically. And so we'll share some of that at another pastor chat. But some really good indicators that we're on a growth trajectory. We've been on a slow growth trajectory, but this 6 months has been a much bigger growth trajectory. So thank you for being faithful and making this a place that people want to be. Thank you for being faithful for those of you who pledged your financial resources this year because we are meeting our budget all the time, especially our plate offering, which are pledges and offerings and tithes. So we did not do that so much last year. So it is a lovely thing that you're being so faithful in that way. And God is blessing us, amen? So when we're faithful, then God adds the exponent. And we see all kinds of things happening that we could not have imagined even a year ago. So thank you. It makes a huge difference in our community. People love our church. So some of us get to be out there all the time, right? Jana Lee and JT and I and others. People love the stories of our church. And so it's way beyond these walls. All right. Okay. I imagine it's lunchtime, right? Okay. So let's do the prayer with if you would like to rise as you're able, and we can say a prayer. And as I have often done, I'd like for us to do a prayer with our eyes wide open and to do a prayer using Scripture. The Scripture is, God who began a good work in us will be faithful to complete it. God, and I'll say it again, God who began a good work in us will be faithful to complete it. Now say it with me. God who began a good work in us will be faithful to complete it. One more time like you mean it. God who began a good work in us will be faithful to complete it. May it be so. Bye-bye.